Welcome to a short segment. In today's episode, we're going to recap the play-in games, which will begin today. But before we begin, I would like to thank everyone who has tuned in to our podcast from day one. And it's my goal to shout all my supporters as I do on every show. And remember, guys, if any of you guys want to come and tell your story on how your grind never stops, you can join us and you can send us a message or give us a call, and we'll be glad to bring you in. And I also want to thank to a new member to the team, Ray Lundquist. He'll be running the Twitter, and he'll be helping us get this sports podcast to the next level. And again, you guys know my co-host Steve, who's been working hard on doing more videos as the MLB has started, and we'll talk about the MLB in an episode later on. But in today's episode, we're going to talk about the play. So, for people who don't know about the NBA play, it's where the top six teams make the playoffs, and the seventh, eighth, ninth, 10 they don't make the playoffs, but they have a chance to become a playoff team because there's two spots up for grabs, and to be part of this is a cool future. And for some, it might not be good because you don't want a tenth team being in the playoffs, and but that's how the game is now. Um, the top six teams make the playoffs, and obviously the first two playoff matches in both conferences are not set up now. We'll talk about the playoffs in just a moment, but so this play-in, so if you're the seventh and eighth seed, in example to the Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers, they so the Cavs, Nets, and the Minnesota Timberwolves and the LA Clippers. So whichever team wins tonight will have one spot in their respective conference, as the Brooklyn Nets, the 44-38 Nets, will face the 44-38 Cavs. And this is supposed to be in Cleveland, but as you guys know, the Nets hold the tiebreaker against the Cavs. So this will be in Brooklyn, and it will be tonight's start. It will be on TNT, I believe. It's going to be at the Barclays Center, and expect KD to Kyrie to come firing on all cylinders. And don't disrespect the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have been having a great season all season long. But this is not a win or go home. Because if the Cavs lose tonight, they still have a chance to play against the 10th and 11th team. Um, but the Cavs did and has had the Brooklyn Nets numbers over the years. So it might be a blowout for the Nets, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be up close. And unfortunately, Jake Allen will not suit up with the Cavs, nor will Sexton or Dean Wade, as all of these guys, except for Jared Allen, are out for the season. And if they lose tonight and they play the Hornets or the Hawks, Jared Allen will be questionable. He was apparently doubtful, but they moved him to questionable. But for sure, he will miss tonight's game. And for the Nets, the one thing that I didn't like before all this was getting rid of James Johnson, because he's been a key piece for not only the Nets but for the teams that he has played. He gives that jump. Um, like he's got that menace kind of face, but James Johnson has never been a scoring.
The new Tim's Harvest Breakfast Sandwich.
He's never been a huge scorer in this league, but he's just been playing defensively, and he can hit a three. But that was a move that I did not understand, and hopefully this move can make space for Blake Griffin to play and for LaMarcus Aldridge who's been up and down with injuries, to play as well. Because you guys know that Blake Griffin did have some big performances last year in the playoffs against the Milwaukee Bucks. So maybe they might not use Blake tonight, but probably in the first round they might have to use Blake for matchups. But this is Nets time to just stop playing around, stop fooling around, and try to play Brooklyn basketball and real basketball. Because for the Nets, they've been losing games in which they've been winning, and a 44-38 record is a horrible record. But it's funny how the Cavaliers, who have no LeBron James, no Colin Sexton, no Ricky Rubio, with the same record as a team who has Andre Drummond, Seth Curry, Ben Simmons, KD, Kyrie, so and Goran Dragic. But this game is not about Goran Dragic, obviously. But this game is about for the Nets to make a statement here, because the Nets have been overrated at times, but as well as underrated. They got the best scorer in the league in Kevin Durant, probably the best big, uh, tallest shooter in the league. He's a great sniper as well from three. And KD can go off at any times, as you saw him score 50 a couple times. And we're not forgetting Kyrie Irving. And for me, I don't like Kyrie Irving because what has happened in Cleveland, what happened in Boston, and what has happened for him to not take the vaccine. But if he doesn't want to take it, he can be forced. But I think this game is not just about Kevin Durant, it's also about Kyrie. And he also needs to make a statement because Kyrie has struggled ever since he returned full time with the Nets. But this is a huge game for not only the Brooklyn Nets, but for the Cleveland Cavaliers because they can make a huge statement here with booking a spot in the playoffs. And the Cavs are a playoff team. And Darius Garland is having the season of his life. And you got Evan Mobley playing out of his mind. We still got. And the funny thing about all this, no one's talking about Kevin Love. Kevin Love might be a veteran, might be old, might be the end of his career, but the guy scored 32 points in 15 minutes when they played the Bucks, and obviously without Giannis. But Kevin Love is not a person that you wanna leave wide open behind the arc, and he can also go inside the post. And I think the Cleveland Cavaliers have a great team right now. Just their bench is all right. You got you got two veterans off the bench. You got Kevin Love and you got Rajon Rondo. But expect down the stretch in this game, expect the Cavs to have Rondo and Darius Garland running the one spot. But expect both a great game tonight. It will be on 7 p.m. Eastern Time on TNT. And it's gonna be nice. The crowd's gonna go nuts as well. But let's go over the scenarios. So, if the Cleveland Cavaliers or whoever wins this game will play the Boston Celtics, I believe, in the first round, and I think the Nets could beat the Boston Celtics. Easy money. They can beat the Boston Celtics. Um, and you know how the Nets beat the Celtics last season? But this is a different Celtics team, and I don't want to talk playoffs now because I'm going to set up a special episode regarding the playoff matchups. But all I'm saying is that the Nets want to win this game, so they can face the Celtics team because I believe the Nets could maybe lose against the Celtics because this is a different Boston team. But as you guys all know, Boston Celtics always play great near the end of the season, and when playoffs time come, they don't know what they're doing. but this is a different team. I hope for the Celtics. So I think the Nets need to win tonight. And obviously, if they lose, they're not out, but uh, for sure the Nets could beat the Hornets. And the Hawks is another underdog team in uh, this playoffs, well, in this playing. Uh, so I think the Hawks are the underdog, but right now the Hawks are a better team than the Cavs. So I think the Nets could win this game tonight, but I believe in the Cavs. They still got it. They might have not their whole lineup, but got they still got a great team, and expect Garland to take over and Mobley, Kyrie, KD. So it's gonna be nice to see how Kyrie facing his team, the team that drafted him. But the team that wins in this matchup will take over the first spot. And this is a good thing for the Nets because if they were ninth or tenth, it's a winner or go home, and they would face Miami Heat. And I still think Miami is better than Brooklyn. That's what I feel. With a healthy Lowry, a healthy Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero off the bench, PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo, Victor Oladipo is back to his old self, uh, like day by day. But as of right now, the Nets will play the Cleveland Cavaliers for the seventh spot, and the winner of this one will book their ticket to the playoffs, and winner of this one will face the Boston Celtics, and game one will be in Boston. And for the other game that's going on tonight, it won't be the Hawks and Hornets. They play tomorrow. It will be the red hot Minnesota Timberwolves and the LA Clippers. And you guys know how the Timberwolves have been playing this season. Um, the Ant Man, Anthony Edwards, has been having a wonderful second year in the league. And then you got Carl Anthony Towns, you got Pat Bev. And you know how everyone laughed on how Pat Bev got shipped to the Timberwolves to a bottom team? But Pat Bev might not score 40, might not score even 20. It's not about the board, it's not about the assist. It's about the defense, the way that he plays the way that he causes you to miss. And I think Patrick Beverly is a key piece for the Timberwolves. But it's all about Carl Anthony Towns and Carl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. And the other guys, they're like D'Angelo Russell is not having a wonderful season stat wise, but he could still get it done. But I need D'Angelo Russell to take some shots more, just get more aggressive and on the offensive end. But expect Carl Anthony Towns to have a big game tonight. But the Clippers is not a team that you want to mess with because they recently got Paul George, and I know uh, he's been known to be called Playoff P, but I think Paul George is coming back to his old self, and also they also got Norman Powell back recently, and Batum is injured right now, and uh, I think he'll be good to go tonight. Also, Norman Powell will be playing, Paul George, Reggie Jackson, Ibaka Zubac. So expect. I think this is a fair matchup, to be honest with you. But the Cavs and Nets, it's not too it's not too much the same, but I think this matchup will be nice to see as the Timberwolves will play the Los Angeles Clippers on 9:30 p.m. following the Nets and Cavs game, and expect this game to be nice to see. It will be played obviously in Minnesota, but Carl Towns have been having a great MVP, close to an MVP type season for Carl Anthony Towns. So I expect both games tonight to be good. And as well, tonight's matchup is for the seventh team. So the winner of these games will book their seventh team. And the winner of the Timberwolves and the Clippers will face the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies are playing red hot. They have 56 wins. They're 7-3 last 10, so I think uh, this matchup will be nice to see if the LA Clippers win or even the Timberwolves, because I still think that the Clippers could beat the Pels or the Spurs, whichever they play with, if the Clippers lose tonight, and because they would face the Suns. So I think the Clippers need to win tonight because you don't want to face the 64 win Phoenix Suns, who are having a terrific season thanks to Chris Paul and Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton and Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges. So they like all of these teams are great teams. And we're gonna save all of these other playoff matchups in the playoff preview that we will do after Tuesday night's matchup. So Wednesday morning, we'll release the playoff preview in which uh, the beginning of the playoffs. But I can tell you the playoffs, the matchups that are already set is the Denver Nuggets will play the Golden State Warriors. Game one will be in Golden State, and the Dallas Mavericks will play the Utah Jazz, and game one is in Dallas. And in the Eastern Conference, the defending champs, the Milwaukee Bucks, will face the Chicago Bulls, and the 76ers. My 76ers will play against my hometown team, the Toronto Raptors. But we're going to save all those playoff matchups for the playoffs preview. And so tonight it will be the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Brooklyn Nets against the Clippers and the Timberwolves. And tomorrow we're going to recap tonight's matchups, and then we're going to preview tomorrow playing games between the Spurs and the Pelicans, and the Hornets and Hawks tomorrow, and we'll recap that, and from there we'll know what is going to happen. But guys, thanks for tuning in to an episode of the Grind Never Stops podcast. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and all your podcast platforms. And then make sure to check our things on Twitter, as we will be tweeting a lot of things. And we've been keeping an eye on the Blue Jays, who had a beautiful win last night against the New York Yankees as they shut out the Yanks 3-0. But guys, thanks for tuning in to this segment of the Grind Never Stops podcast. This is your host, DJ Joe, signing out. Mamba.